A peaceful afternoon at Mercy General Hospital in Chicago turns into a nightmare when Rebecca Hart, a millionaire's mistress, storms into the maternity wing and shoves a pregnant woman down the stairs. The woman's scream echoes through the corridor, her body crumpling against the concrete steps. And before anyone can react, a surgeon rushes from the emergency bay, grabs Rebecca by the shoulders, and pins her against the wall. The security cameras capture everything. And in that single moment, Rebecca doesn't realize she just assaulted the doctor's sister. What follows isn't just about revenge. It's about justice, family, and a woman who turned her darkest moment into a movement that changed everything. Stay with me, because when this story reaches the courtroom, the entire country will be watching. Tell us where you're listening from and drop a comment below. The afternoon light filtered softly through the windows of Mercy General's maternity wing. Everything felt calm. The distant hum of medical equipment, the gentle footsteps of nurses, the quiet hope that filled every corner. Maya Chun sat in the waiting area, her hands resting protectively on her rounded belly. At 8 months pregnant, every movement required thought, every breath a conscious effort. Her husband, Marcus Hart, stood near the vending machine, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his phone glued to his ear. He'd barely spoken to her all morning. The marriage counseling appointment they'd scheduled had been his idea, or rather, his lawyer's suggestion after Maya threatened to leave. But Maya knew the truth. Marcus hadn't come to save their marriage. He'd come to manage appearances. The elevator doors opened, and a woman stepped out. Tall, confident, draped in a crimson dress that turned heads. Rebecca Hart, Marcus's business partner, his associate, his lie wrapped in designer fabric. Maya's stomach dropped. Marcus, she said quietly, her voice trembling. What is she doing here? Rebecca's heels clicked sharply against the tile as she approached, her smile cold and practiced. Hello, Maya. Still clinging to what's not yours, I see. Maya stood slowly, one hand gripping the chair for balance. This is a hospital. You can't. I can be wherever I want, Rebecca interrupted smoothly. Especially when it involves cleaning up messes. Marcus finally looked up from his phone, his face pale. Rebecca, not here. We agreed. You agreed, she snapped. I'm tired of pretending this woman matters. The words struck like glass shattering. Maya felt her chest tighten, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. I'm his wife, she whispered. Rebecca laughed, sharp, cruel. You're an obstacle. And today, I'm removing you. Before Maya could respond, Rebecca stepped forward and shoved her. Hard, Maya's hands flew out instinctively to catch herself. But her pregnant body couldn't find balance. She stumbled backward toward the stairwell door that someone had propped open. Her heel caught the edge of the top step, and then she was falling, the world tilted. Her scream ripped through the corridor as her body tumbled down the concrete stairs, each impact stealing her breath. Pain exploded through her abdomen, her back, her arms. The baby. Oh God, the baby. She landed at the bottom in a heap, her vision swimming with stars. Blood pooled beneath her, warm and terrifying. Help, she gasped. Someone help me. Above, Rebecca stood frozen at the top of the stairs, her face a mix of shock and something darker, satisfaction. Marcus finally moved, stumbling toward the railing. Maya, but he didn't come down. He just stood there, paralyzed by his own cowardice. The door burst open on the main floor. Dr. David Chun, chief of trauma surgery, had been walking past when he heard the scream. He sprinted toward the stairwell and found his sister, his baby sister, crumpled at the bottom, bleeding and barely conscious. Maya. His voice cracked as he dropped to his knees beside her. Stay with me. Stay with me. She looked up at him through tears. David. The baby. He pressed his hand against her abdomen, feeling for the fetal heartbeat through her dress. Faint, but there. She's still fighting. You both are. Then his eyes lifted to the top of the stairs. Rebecca stood there, frozen. Marcus beside her, pale and shaking. David's expression turned to stone. Security. He shouted. Lock down this floor. No one leaves. 2 officers appeared within seconds. David pointed up the stairs. That woman just assaulted my sister. Detain her. Now. Rebecca's confidence shattered. I didn't. She fell. She was unstable. I saw the cameras, David said coldly, though he hadn't yet. And I saw you standing there. You're not leaving this building. As paramedics rushed in with a stretcher, David held Maya's hand. "I've got you," he whispered. "I promise you I've got you." The footage went viral within hours. Security cameras had captured everything: Rebecca's shove, Maya's fall, the blood spreading across the floor. By evening, every news network in the country had picked up the story. Millionaire's mistress attacks pregnant wife. Victim's brother is hospital chief. The public reaction was immediate and furious. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag justice for Maya. Hashtag protect mothers. Protests formed outside Marcus Hart's corporate headquarters. Rebecca's modeling contracts vanished overnight. Her social media accounts drowned in condemnation. Inside the hospital, Maya lay in intensive care. The baby's heartbeat remained weak but steady. David never left her side. 3 days later, Detective Sarah Morales sat beside Maya's bed, her notebook open. "Are you ready to press charges?" Maya looked at her hands, bruised, trembling. She thought about every time she'd stayed silent, every time she'd believed Marcus's promises, every time she'd made herself smaller to avoid conflict. "Yes," she said, "I'm ready." The trial lasted 4 weeks. The courtroom overflowed with reporters, activists, and women who saw themselves in Maya's story. When the video played in court, the room fell silent. Rebecca's shove, Maya's fall, the sound of her body hitting concrete. Some jurors closed their eyes. Others wept openly. David testified with surgical precision. "I found my sister at the bottom of those stairs, bleeding and begging me to save her child." The defendant stood at the top, watching, not helping, watching. Rebecca's lawyer tried to argue accident, emotional distress, provocation. But the footage didn't lie. When Maya took the stand, her voice was quiet but unshakable. "She looked me in the eyes and called me an obstacle. Then she pushed me down those stairs. I thought I was going to die. I thought my baby was going to die." She paused, her hand resting on her belly. "But we survived. And now I'm here to make sure no one else has to face what I faced in silence." The verdict came on a cold November morning. Guilty on all counts. Rebecca's face went white. The judge sentenced her to 10 years. No parole for the first 7. Marcus, implicated through witness testimony, faced civil suits that would strip him of everything he'd built outside the courthouse. Maya stood on the steps, her brother beside her. Reporters shouted questions, but she raised her hand for silence. "My name is Maya Chun," she said, her voice carrying across the crowd. "6 months ago, I almost lost everything. Today, I stand here not as a victim, but as a survivor. And I want every woman watching to know, your voice matters. Your life matters. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise." The crowd erupted in applause. 3 months later, Maya gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Hope, because that's what had kept her breathing through the darkest nights. David held his niece in the hospital room where Maya had once fought for both their lives. "She's perfect," he whispered. Maya smiled through tears. "She's why I kept going." That same week, the state legislature passed Maya's law, mandating harsher penalties for assaults on pregnant women and requiring hospitals to install emergency response protocols in all maternity areas. The bill signing. Maya stood beside the governor, her daughter in her arms. The cameras flashed, but this time, they captured something beautiful, not tragedy, but triumph. A year later, Mercy General unveiled the Maya Chun Family Safety Wing. David stood beside his sister as she cut the ribbon, the crowd cheering. "This wing represents something simple," Maya said into the microphone. "That cruelty doesn't get the last word. Love does. Truth does. Survival does." She looked down at Hope, sleeping peacefully in her stroller. "My daughter will grow up in a world that's a little bit safer because we refuse to stay silent." And that's not just justice. That's hope. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the hospital in golden light. That if you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out. You are not alone. Your story matters. Your life matters. Share this video if it touched your heart, because sometimes one story can save one life. And that life might be your own. Comment below if you believe survivors deserve justice. Thank you for listening. You are stronger than you know.